Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, Live Free with Mikey. As you can see, I'm here with a friend today, Live Free with JD, and today we're going to be going over his first deal. Now, we just filmed a video on his channel of my first deal, so if you want to go check that out, his YouTube channel is Live Free with JD, so feel free to go check that out. But today, we're going over his first deal, so let's get right into it. First off, JD, how old are you?
I am 28. The first deal happened at 24.
Okay, so 4 years ago his first deal happened. And when did you realize you were first going to be a real estate investor?
I was working a corporate job at the time. I knew I wanted to get into investments. I was really big into stocks. I had moved in with a friend and was renting out his attic for $700 a month. And I realized between me and the other tenant that he had in his house, I was like, this is so sick. I want to do that. So my friend was house hacking. I realized I need to get into real estate and house hack. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad right around that same time. And I knew it was time.
Wow, super interesting. So you're also an agent too. Was that before or after this first deal?
So that was after. I actually started investing using a different agent. I had an agent help me out with this first purchase, and it was super helpful to be working with someone who knew what they were doing. After I had gotten my second house, that's when I became an agent, because after having two, I realized I was gonna keep doing it big time and it would be worth it to get my license. At this point, I have 23 places, so I'm really glad I did. I've helped out a countless number of friends and family get started with their investing journey. So being an agent is super helpful for me, but at the time I was using someone else and it was a great deal, so I went with it.
That's super cool. So you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. What other resources or podcasts, things like that you use to kind of inform yourself and learn real estate?
That's a great question. So when I was working in these W-2 jobs, I had an hour commute for the one job. I had a 2.5 hour commute for the other one each way, which was pretty brutal, but I had bigger podcasts to get me through it. You guys now have the luxury of using the Live Free podcast to get through your morning commutes. You can find it on Spotify. Mikey and I record and release every Wednesday morning, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, I was listening to podcasts on Bigger Pockets. It was all pushing towards multifamily deals and house hacking. And I was originally looking at multifamilies before I decided on the house hack. And what really got me into the house hack in Philly, I was looking at all these duplexes over near Temple. I wanted to buy a pure investment. I wasn't even gonna live in it. But I decided to walk into an open house one day on a new construction in Philly, and the finishes just got me. I mean, these houses were so much sicker than the duplexes, and I was like, well, maybe I can live in it and have like a super sick house to live in and still somehow make the numbers work. I thought it'd be a lot harder to make the numbers work with the purchase prices on new construction being so much higher. I mean, the duplexes I was looking at were like 200 to 300. New construction was like 400, 450. I think it was 425 when I walked into the first new construction I looked at. And it's like, wow, 425 for just a single unit with 4 bedrooms. I don't know if these numbers are gonna work, but the kicker is in Philadelphia, new construction properties have a tax abatement. So for the first 10 years, you're not paying taxes, which really helps with the cash flow. And at that point, running the numbers, I realized maybe this could work out after all.
So what kind of loan were you able to get on this place?
So since I was moving in, I grabbed a nice little primary loan. It was conventional. Everyone's gonna tell you FHA. I hate FHA for 2 reasons. One, you get hurt a little bit more in the mortgage insurance, and you have to put 3.5% down versus conventional, you can actually put 3% down for your first house. So I was able to save a little on the down payment, a lot on the mortgage insurance. And the other key with FHA is you're stuck with that mortgage insurance for the entire 30 years. So you're paying an extra $100, $150, $200 a month for the entire life of the loan. Whereas with conventional, once you get to 20% equity in the property, the mortgage insurance drops off. So you start to save a whole lot of money up front and for the remainder of that loan. So 3% down conventional. It was a $375 purchase price, and I ended up with $15,000 down total, including closing costs, everything to get this house going.
Wow, that's super great. Was there any furniture or anything in there, or did you have to buy everything just bare bones?
Yeah, so it was kind of a hybrid. There was no furniture in there, and I was moving in, so I had to get the living room all set up, obviously my bedroom, and then because I was bringing in tenants, they wanted to bring their own stuff, set up the bedrooms how they wanted to, so I ended up doing 2 of the bedrooms, rented to friends, they brought all their own stuff, And both of them, I ended up buying their furniture when they left at a discount, something that worked for them because they were moving super far away, didn't want to take it with them. Something that worked for me to end up being worth it to keep it versus buying new stuff. But the last bedroom, and this is the tricky part, is I had a friend who wanted to move in, but he couldn't move in for a couple more months. So what I ended up doing is I ended up putting the extra bedroom on Airbnb, and that's what really kickstarted my Airbnb journey.
Wow, okay, so you can Airbnb just single rooms.
Yeah, so it was just a private room in the house. The room had a shared hall bath. And I would think that, all right, maybe this will just get me by and cover what I was gonna get in rent from the guy in order to wait until he moved in. But those first couple months, I was really cleaning up. The mortgage was about $2,100, and that first month that I had on Airbnb, just the extra bedroom got almost $2,000. So I almost covered my mortgage with just one room in the house. I was living in the house for free, essentially, in the room that I had. And then I had 2 other rooms with paying tenants. So I was cash flowing pretty serious on this first house hack.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of cash flow. So what did you do with all that money? You just save it up for the next house, or what was your kind of strategy for that?
Yeah, exactly. So I had gone from living and paying rent with my friend, which was a loss of $700 a month. It was a great deal, by the way. Thanks, Skylar. Appreciate the hookup. But I was paying $700 a month, but now with the tenants in, once my friend moved in and I was off Airbnb, I was making $450 a month in cash flow and living for free, which that's a net change of $1,150 a month that I was able to save up versus what I was already saving. So I was saving about $1,000 a paycheck from my job. I was living very frugally. So I was saving $2,000 a month. Now I have an extra $450 in cash flow. I decided to partner with my father and go in after seeing how Airbnb worked on just a room. If one room could cover the mortgage, I didn't know much about Airbnb at the time, but I figured if one room could cover the mortgage, the whole house should do a whole lot better. And I decided to partner with my pops and buy another house down the street with 15% down and turn it into a full-fledged Airbnb. So
you still have this first house today?
I don't. I did a lot of research when I was buying. I was checking out a bunch of neighborhoods in Philly. The first I was looking in Brewery Town, but then I realized Point Breeze, which is super central to everything in Philly, 15 minutes from all the sports stadiums, 10 minutes from Center City, 10 minutes from the airport. I realized that that would probably be better for Airbnb and make it easier for me to get tenants if it's close to a lot of cool stuff, super close to Center City. So I decided to take the plunge in Point Breeze where the properties were a lot cheaper. So where Brewery Town was $425 at the time, I got a house for $375 that was debatably nicer than what was going on in Brewery Town. Neighborhood was moving a lot faster, and I ended up selling that house about 3 years later for $80,000 more than I purchased it for.
Wow.
And given that I put $15,000 down, was making $450 a month in income, and then I ended up Airbnb in that house after I moved out about a year later, making about $1,500 to $2,000 a month in cash flow. At that point, I had gotten all my money back in about the first year and a half. Selling the house, I got $80,000 back. So $15,000 investment ended up bringing me in well over $100,000 by the time I sold it a couple years later.
That's absolutely wild. What were sort of your biggest challenges in getting a house and then selling the house?
Yeah, so getting the house, there was a little thing that I had to do where a lot of the Philadelphia houses are 3 or 4 bedrooms, and the lower level is where it's key, guys. So if you're looking for a house hack, the key to kind of adding a little value is to try to see if there's an area that could maybe be a bedroom that isn't marketed as a bedroom, and that's what I did. I took the lower level of the house, and it was open to the upstairs, so I put in a nice little wall and door to frame that off, and that lower space was huge. It was about 650 square feet just for one bedroom. It had its own bathroom down there, and it was totally private. The person had the whole floor. So I ended up putting up a wall and a door, which cost me about $500, and a handle, a jack to a good contractor buddy. And that $500 was very well spent because I was getting $850 a month for that bedroom alone.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I turned a 3-bedroom house into a 4-bedroom house, which super helped with the resale value at the end of the day. Oh,
totally, yeah, that added a lot of value, I'm sure, to that place. What do you think that place would be worth today?
So today it's probably right around $455 still, especially with the way the rates are kind of going in the market. I sold it only maybe 4 or 5 months ago, so it wasn't long. And the only reason I sold that house, because I'm a huge believer in buying, collecting the passive income and keep it going. You guys are probably thinking, why would I give up the $1,500, $2,000 a month in cash flow? Well, I needed that money. It was the house that I first bought. It's the house that I had a ton of equity in, and when I sold it, I rolled all of the money that I used, that I got, the $80K in equity, and after 3 years of paying it down, I ended up getting a wire for $107,000, which, if you guys are anything like me, you pour all of your money into investments, and my bank account had not been over $10,000 since I first bought that house. So I used that $107,000 to buy a penthouse in Hawaii.
Wow, yeah, it's super cool, guys. Check it out if you're ever in Hawaii. Hit them up. You might get in.
We do occasionally rent out those spare rooms at the penthouse to give the local Hawaii authentic experience to people, Airbnb style. If you're a friend, hit me up, give you a homie discount. But otherwise, doing a little cash flow action over in Hawaii now with that. So that's the only reason I gave up my first house, was a penthouse in Hawaii.
That's super interesting. Are there any other markets you're sort of looking at, or why was Philly the one you went with?
So Philly was the one I went with because it was close to home. I had a lot of family around there. I knew I wanted to move there at some point. My goal was to get there. I was dating someone at the time who lived in Philly and worked in Philly, so it just made sense. She hated driving. I didn't mind driving, which made it really easy to pick somewhere close to her work to be, and I love Philadelphia. So it was a no-brainer for me to get a house in Philadelphia so that everyone's life was a little bit better.
Makes sense, makes sense. Nowadays, if you were to pick your first house, what market would you go in?
Whew, that's a loaded question. We run analysis on markets all the time. There's a lot of really cool markets. Now, when you're picking out somewhere to house hack, it's kind of different than just picking out an investment in that you're gonna be living there. So if you're gonna be living there, you might factor in a couple other things. Like I said, all those attractions that were close by were super important to me, so I could go and have some fun while I was living there. I wanted somewhere that I could get good tenants too, because it is an investment. I was gonna be living with these people, so I wanted somewhere that was attractive to other people who are young professionals in their 20s that wake up at a reasonable hour, so they wouldn't disturb my schedule. So picking out your first house hack should be in an area that, one, you wanna live, but two, it should make money. So for me, when I was looking in all like BC neighborhoods, places that I knew there was a lot of development, places that I knew would have some appreciation because the neighborhood was getting better. So when you guys are looking, definitely look to get something that's, you don't have to live in the perfect neighborhood for your first house. A lot of times when you invest in an A neighborhood, you're not gonna see cash flow. If I had bought something in, say, Society Hills, Center City, Philadelphia, one, I would have paid a whole lot more and probably not been able to qualify. But two, I wouldn't be able to rent the rooms out in cash flow. I'd probably still be at that negative 700 that I was paying for rent before. So to me, it was super important to be in an emerging neighborhood that I wanted to live in and make sure the numbers worked.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So let's backtrack a little bit. You said you had a job. Was there anything else you were sort of doing to build up like cash to buy this first one?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, because my path to getting this house was a little unconventional in that when I signed the contract for the house, I was still a broke boy. I had about $3,000 to my name, and as you guys heard, I needed $15,000 to get it done. There was talks, it was gonna be anywhere between $12,000 and $20,000 that I needed. Knowing this, when I signed the contract, what I did was, over that 6 weeks that it took for the loan to come through and the bank to be ready to give me the funds, I worked my ass off. So every hour that I wasn't in work, I was driving for Uber, I was reffing wrestling tournaments on weekends. I was basically trying to make like $300 a day, however I could, and working 80-hour weeks for those last couple weeks up until the loan was ready, so that I had all the cash myself to get in on this deal.
Wow, so really just straight hustling to really make it up at that last bell ring to make it all finalized. How long did it take you to like find this place and choose this place? Because there's a big thing in real estate called analysis paralysis, where people will look forever and never actually get into something. They just keep running numbers, but never actually do anything. So what got you past that?
It's a great question. So I spent a lot of time while I was at work after I got all of my other work tasks done. I would spend a lot of time hunting for houses, trying to find the right one. Like I said, I was looking for duplexes originally. I actually had an offer on a duplex originally over by Temple, and it was the week of closing. We're doing the final walkthrough, and part of the ceiling had collapsed from a rainstorm. So when the ceiling fell through, I was like, I had a bad gut feeling, and I was like, I don't want this house. So I decided against that house, walked into that open house, and at this point I had been running numbers, doing the analysis. I was ready to pull the trigger. I had already been under contract on something. So it took me about 2 months to go through and find the right thing. I probably looked at about 10 houses that were new construction, maybe through 2 different days, five houses a day. So I looked at 10 of them, and after seeing 10 houses in the Philadelphia market, seeing the one that I found for $375, I knew that that was the one. There was nothing compared at that price point.
Would that still be the first one if you look nowadays?
I definitely have learned a lot of things when I've been looking. I still think house hacking is a great way to start because you have a lot of safety in having your homies come in and live with you and paying the rent. You don't have much downside risk. You like the place that you live, so it's a good starting option. I do think I may have Airbnb those extra rooms out a lot longer, knowing that I was getting almost $2,000 a month from a bedroom. Even if I could have gotten $1,500 a bedroom, the cash flow would have just been insane on this property. So I think doing something that was more of a mix of a short term would be how I would start now. Things I look for in a house are a little bit different now. I try to find something that's got like a super wow factor, something that has a pizzazz. I think I got really lucky with the first one that I was able to add that bedroom and get that value add. So if you guys are out there looking for your first one, find something that you can either value add or something that has just some X factors that when you put it on Airbnb or trying to rent it out, you're gonna be able to rent it out for a pretty penny.
Yeah, I think you should totally for both of those. And like you said, I think house hacking is one of the easiest and best ways for somebody to get right into real estate because your expenses are so low. You're not paying rent. People are paying you to live at your place, and just for that little bit of uncomfortability of maybe having some strangers come into your house and live there with you for a little bit, it's kind of worth in the end because it'll really kickstart your investing journey and really get you going.
Yeah, cash is the hardest thing to come by when you're first getting started. I had to hustle so hard for that extra money to get the down payment, and at the time, if you told me making an extra $12,000 in 6 weeks was possible, I would have been like, that's gonna suck. And I know it's a lot harder. Now with so many rentals, it's a lot easier to stack that kind of cash. And when you're getting started, you just need cash to keep moving. So it's super worth it to make sure you run the numbers, get the right place, to get any extra savings you can, especially with the house hack, to keep moving.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all the questions I have for you. Do you have any tips for new people getting into real estate?
Yeah, so I would say definitely listen to some podcasts. Like I said, we've got the Live Free podcast, which will help out. Bigger Pockets is great. Read as much as you can on it. But at the same time you're doing all that stuff, make sure you're taking those late nights on Zillow, trying to poke around at places, get in contact with an agent who can send you stuff. Even if you're not ready to buy a house yet, you want to just read through some more things or save up a little more cash, get on their list because they'll send you stuff and keep helping you with what's going to look good. You'll have a better idea of what deals are better than others. So my biggest tip would be to try to, while you're jump starting your education, make sure you're also jump starting your search. That way when the right thing comes up, you can pull the trigger. And even if you don't have the money yet, it's possible, guys. You have 6 weeks before that loan closes, you'll find the money. And that's the biggest thing I learned in Hawaii with the real estate group I'm in there is if you have the right deal, the money will come. And that's kind of what's happened on our 43 unit in the Poconos. So just 4 years ago today, I was buying my first house, and now we're under contract for pretty much a $5 million project in the Poconos, and we're moving and shaking. Didn't have the money for that either, but it's the right deal. We were able to pull all the money in and make this Poconos resort happen. So just make it happen, you guys.
It's so crazy how crazy things can get just 4 years later. That's all it really took, from 1 to a 43 unit deal. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, if you focus on just one thing, that one thing will get really super cool.
Yeah, well, anyways, guys, that kind of brings us to the end of the video. If you want to check us out, I'm Live Free with Mikey on pretty much everything. He's Live Free with JD. Like I said, we have the podcast. That is the Live Free podcast. So you can listen to that pretty much anywhere podcasts are, Apple Music, Spotify, anything like that. If you want to be on it, hit up our Instagram bios. There's a link in there that'll bring you to a little form. You fill it out, and you might just see yourself on there.
That's right.
That's pretty much it, guys. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you have any more questions for us. If you want to see us do something like this in the future, maybe some more collabs.
Yeah, maybe. And guys, don't subscribe for me. Subscribe for the boy Mike. help a homie out. Let's go. And remember to live free, get that passive income up, you guys, and let's make it happen.
Live free.